Yeah, I think it's just like a nod to mages in general, besides putting like an actual mage on the logo. It's clean, I do like the logo. And yeah, it also like, we will get constructs, most likely, as in golems and whatnot. So having rocks around the crystal, it works out together into something. Like, I don't think you have you can have a mage expansion and do not bring more constructs. So we got a patch coming, and yeah, the Basilisk Venom is the first of the stratagems they changed. So the stratagems coming into play is quite nice. Like, I'm not sure any of them are busted enough to get played, and like Basilisk Venom is the first one to talk about. I'm not sure it's playable. It's annoying.
I don't think it's playable, but it could potentially be a strong option of Radea sometimes. If you're playing a poison deck and you have like a brick poison, then you might want to pick this from Radea maybe.
Yeah,
but outside of that,
yeah, it's not guaranteed. I can see someone like going full poison on ladder. It's by no means like 2600 deck, but it might be annoying from like blue coin. And yeah, you also cannot rely on it. Like, if you're like half of your game plan is trying to revolve against around like controlling the beginning of the game, then you get red coin and it's kind of not working anymore. So yeah, I don't see that card being like out to include. But Radea packages, yeah, I mean Radea getting buffed by this.
Yeah, for sure. All the stratagems that are getting buffed are nice for Radea.
So enchanted armor now gives 2 armor.
Yeah, I don't think that's enough of a difference as well to make this card see play.
Yeah, like you pick it up sometimes in like a mid-range NR of the past. Maybe Fonzie. I used it myself for like mount art decks, but so yeah, you are protecting that. Oh, maybe you protect Cleaver now. Now that Cleaver dies to a boat. Like, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the boost by 3 is usually was already enough to protect cards, right? Like the 2 armor, I feel like don't really help that much there.
Yeah, now you can restore Cleaver to his like condition on board now, more or less, after you buff it. Yeah, once again, you're not putting that as your starting stratagems or Radea. Ceremonial Dagger might see play in Revenants potentially. Like,
maybe. I mean, the 2 bleeding though, if you're playing Revenants, you want to set up kills, and this 2 bleed kind of.
Yeah, so
it
doesn't help you with Forbidden Magic. It might help like if there is a 5 target that you attack and bleed, maybe for like Revenant.
In general, I think these reactive stratagems are not that good. I was also never a fan of like the Nilfgaard log stratagem, because usually from blue coin you want to have some proactive points, because the opponent otherwise can just play, you know, uninteractively, not really give you targets for your stratagem, and can be really annoying. So usually you'd rather just have some proactive points like the Jin or the TA.
Yeah. But like, they give it a shot, yeah. Probably expecting maybe some of them to see play as an initial stratagem, but yeah, all I see now is Radea. And Curse Scroll now gives you a card to your hand. So you choose a card, so it sounds nice, but it's a 0-point play, so...
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's something like Lippy, where you win round 1 anyways from blue coin. You could consider it. Like, you can unbrick your hand, but it's probably still not worth it. Like 0 points is just pretty bad.
Yeah. And I guess other stratagems are listed here, yeah, by the factions. Maybe you can do a scroll in V. Hi Wilson. Scroll in V. Okay, yeah, like... V doesn't care that much.
Okay, yeah. I mean, in V actually there's an argument for it because getting an extra V is actually
Yeah.
worth points.
Count one.
So, nah, maybe.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
actually
maybe, but yeah.
potentially a use case for it.
Saves you. Oh, but yeah, you need to consume stick in anyway.
Yeah.
Leader losing one charge, that might be still not enough. Like 5 points might matter more than another V if you are just exhausting your leader charges.
Yeah, true.
So then the other stratagems again. I guess we can finish that first. Urn of Shadows, triggering a light unit that wish now, so not only bronze limited.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're playing a Death Wish deck, then maybe it could be good enough.
Yeah, but can you really like I can see Karantir being applied to Plague Maiden maybe, but yeah, do you want another Plague Maiden? Like you need to move it to get the payoff, so yeah, it doesn't work. Miruna and all that shit is kinda
Yeah, it's
hard
expensive to commit. It's true. I know something like Manticore is maybe fine.
Yeah. I missed the opponent here,
Uh-huh.
reviewing patch notes. But yeah, it's kinda seems to be more flexible.
Yeah, it's definitely better now.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, I
I mean,
need to
Death
grab
Wish decks aren't even a thing. So.
some water. I'm coughing endlessly here, so back in a second.
True.
Okay, back. So yeah, Urn might see some implementations like, but I try to play the normal Death Wish nowadays. It kind of felt bad. Yeah, you get amazing Miruna, and then you are running out of tempo anyway from time to time. So
Yeah.
it didn't feel amazing even after you steal, say, a feature from an R.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is you're still on blue coins, so you maybe, even if you get this great tempo play, you're still not winning on even, right?
So we got a change to indirect change to Saber as well in Scoia'tael. Like Scoia'tael Neophyte is now transforming an Allied Elf into a Deadeye.
I mean, that's actually pretty strong, right?
Yeah, that seems like maybe not direct. Once again, Radea deck, or you're committing to thin.
Yeah, you can even play this, I think.
Really
like,
now.
yeah, you're committing to getting the Elven out in round one, but in decks that get a lot of value from winning round one might be good enough. Also, this card might even be good enough to be played in elf decks.
Yeah.
In swarm decks, right?
2 elves, and yeah, the ability is available, order ability is available on both of them.
Yeah, it also has synergy with Venossia. And, you know, with all cards like Eisengrim.
Yeah.
So
like the swarm and yeah, the fact that you're creating like you're turning, say, Bowman into a Deadeye is potentially like fueling Werner front row from time to time. Depends on the deck, of course. Yeah. And then there is Mask of Ouroboros that spawns 2 crows now. So I've seen that like people trying to implement that. for discard and like cheating and not running double scout. I do like the mask change, like it's even more potent now, but then you cannot cheat. Once again the blue coin red coin problem comes, like you cannot
yeah, it's hard to build a deck
something
around this, like relying on this card, right? But it might just be good enough now to play anyways, because it's only 1 point worse than Magic Lamp.
Yeah.
And even if you're not discarding something like Skirmisher, like you could even play this outside of a discard deck, and you're just using it to thin, right? Basically, to just get rid of like a bad card. And you only lose 1 point compared to the Magic Lamp, so I think this is probably quite decent.
Yeah, I'd say that Saber and Mask are quite nice, and yeah, then we have the Tiger's Eye as well, getting an extra coin. Might be a consideration. 5 coins is a lot of coins after all.
Yeah.
How do you like the Tiger? Like, how did you like the Tiger throughout its existence?
I mean, I didn't play it at 4 coins in Syndicate lately, but I think at 5 points might be good enough. Like you get to 9 coins now in with like 1 4p crime basically, with either dip or shakedown pretty effectively. You get Redanian out. So yeah, I mean 5 coin. I mean generally 1 coin is worth more than a point, right?
Yeah. And like feel in the bank for line pockets. Now the question is, what Syndicate are we playing next? Next patch.
Yeah, obviously if you're not playing a deck that's built around coins, then it's quite useless. But
I mean, yeah, the line pockets might be a bit under attack by projects. With several nerfs, like Cleaver losing armor.
Yeah.
I guess we can start with Syndicate now. Like the deck everyone brought to the open. So yeah, the Pirate's Cove is actually like they made improvement, and now it feeds 2 Siege Jackals. So
but you don't have the 4 coins anymore.
Yeah, you don't get coins. Like the beauty of Jackal is to like have some coins in the bank already, and maybe those 4 like allowing you to get to 9 to spend for extra points. Now you're just getting double spender.
In terms of raw value, this is actually less points now, but it's maybe gives you a better distribution. You can use one of them in an earlier round, one in round 3, right?
It kind of allows you to mulligan as well, I guess. You're like...
Yeah, you don't have to keep spenders, right? But I think it's still probably not good enough compared to other Syndicate leader abilities. I don't really see why I would play this over line pockets or even hidden cash. Or even like King of Beggars.
Yeah. Like it doesn't scream powerful at the moment. Like it could have maybe used gain 1 coin as well once, or at least something. I think at the moment I see them buffing it further because Pirate's Cove wasn't really a leader of choice to anyone.
Yeah.
People tested it, so tested and forgotten about that. No unit Syndicate leader? Oh, you would know, Wilson. You would know.
I mean, this leader ability isn't even like that weak in a vacuum. It's just that other Syndicate leaders are better.
Yeah.
Like, if I had an ability like this in, let's say, Nilfgaard, like Nilfgaard has fairly weak leader abilities, right? This would probably be quite good. But yeah, compared to Syndicate leaders, it's just not quite cutting it, I think.
Yeah. Agreed on that. So then we have Horson Jr. that has Insanity by default, and now his Devotion is to damage by 6, not only boosted units. So The problem with that is that, yeah, Syndicate Devotion wasn't really a thing recently. With Heatwave and Oniro, you can replace Oniro for Bank, but do you want to?
Yeah, it feels bad to not play Oniro in this deck. Because you want to have access to the Justice in round 1 consistently.
Yeah.
And the Cleaver in round 2 and so on. So Oniro feels quite strong in that deck. Well, maybe in some other Syndicate decks, right? Like there are definitely some Syndicate decks that can easily play Devotion.
Yeah, true. Like Devotion is not that big of a problem. Like, okay, we can talk about Heatwave heaps and heaps, like of that card being brought by not 100% of non-Devotion decks during Open, but most of them.
I mean, I think Heatwave is not super important for the deck. Like, you can play it without it, but the Neuromancy hurts, I think, quite a bit to cut.
And yeah, Bank is by no means a replacement for Oniro that enables your binding cards like twice.
No. I mean, that said, the Horseland Jr. is a really strong card now of your Devotion, right?
Yeah.
So like, you didn't really have a reason to try Devotion before in Syndicate. At least not in the Crimes deck, because you're not really getting anything from it on your Jug anyways, but I mean, maybe you could try it now. Like, this card is definitely a reason to play Devotion now, I think.
You also don't feel that bad against Skellige and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly, and Skellige gets a lot stronger. But even against other cards, right, like, if your opponent plays something like a 4-strength engine, you can kill it right away instead of having to wait until it gets boosted.
So now the Cleaver doesn't get his armor, so there was a picture on Reddit as well. Like, I fear no man, but that tank, it scares me with the long ships. This one is good. And yeah, so he joins Kolgrim and that family of cards being if not interrupted. I mean, as Syndicate Crimes, you probably get to kill them, like the ships.
Yeah, sure. But it's definitely a pretty big nerf, even outside of the Ironcrate interaction, right? Like, losing it to armor is gonna make this card much more vulnerable now.
Yeah, it dies to rebukes and...
Yeah, exactly. It dies to 5 damage now if you can't set it up next to Crown Splitters right away.
And that's like changes your entire round plan, because nowadays it's quite regularly an opener round 2, for example. So yeah, you need to find a Crown Splitter to play around Rebuke.
Yeah, the card is definitely still good enough to be played in a Crimes deck. The question is just like, how much is this nerf going to affect the deck as a whole, and is the deck still going to be as strong, especially with the Safecracker nerf as well.
Yeah, so we can talk about the Safecracker as well. So he gets 1 additional power, but his Intimidate is removed now. I was kinda I'm not sure if I wanted that to happen, but I was maybe thinking they're gonna be buffing Venendal Elite as well to the level of Safecracker, but yeah, they went the other direction, making Safecracker basically Venendal.
Yeah, I mean, it's still definitely better than Venendal, because Crimes are a lot better than Tactics.
Yeah, Tactics are playing for more value only with a Hefty Helga on the board than the card says, but yeah, Crimes are synergizing with line pockets, and you have more Intimidate tags than you have if you play a Tactic, do something. Yeah, it cannot be tutored as well. So yeah, it's definitely worse now as a card, but it's still cannot be compared to Venendal.
Yeah, it's still good in this deck, but same with Cleaver, it's also still good in the deck. It's just the deck as a whole gets a good amount weaker now, so I think you still run those cards, most likely, though. I don't think you're gonna cut Safe
What's your
Crackers and
wish?
Justice. I don't think
A
you're gonna
dash
cut
of wine
Cleavers.
and some slap and tickle?
Yeah, so we'll just have to see how much this will affect the power level of Syndicate.
Do you see line pockets being the deck of choice, like the Crimes one? Or do you see, I don't know, the Congregate coming back?
I mean, before they buffed the whole line pockets archetype, nobody was playing Syndicate, right?
Yeah.
And like, there's not really much else that got buffed for Syndicate other than the Horse Hunt now. So
yeah, I'm just wondering if you can restructure old Congregate deck to include those, but yeah, not having line pockets ability probably is too much of a turn off to switch.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely play the Horse Hunt in Congregate, I guess, because it's already playing Devotion anyway. So like the Horse Hunt is probably a good card for that deck, but I don't really know if the deck is good enough.
Yeah,
maybe.
And,
I mean,
yeah, people were not having as much of a success with it before line pockets buff. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, same with Cash, right? Yeah. So I think if the line pockets deck isn't good enough, then probably other Syndicate decks also won't be good enough. And we'll see I guess other strong decks also got nerfs with Nilfgaard, and even Skellige with the Ice, so maybe the meta will change in a way that other Syndicate decks, like either Cash or Congregate, could see play. Who knows?
But yeah, they definitely aimed to tone down the line pockets. I think line pockets went from like 39% of a win rate on Pro Ladder to 54, 55, whatever the number was.
Yeah,
it was one of the nastiest jumps in Gwent history, because like they enabled that to be played, and before that people were basically memeing with town folks like 2 seasons ago. So yeah, it's an understandable jump. Like people didn't learn how to play Syndicate. Syndicate definitely got a buff, but yeah, with this nerf, we'll see. It might be still playable. Like yeah. It would have been replaced potentially by like top 4 factions if others got enough buffs, but others also got nerfed, as you pointed out. The line pocket still might be the deck. It's not that impressive.
Yeah.
What else does Syndicate get? They get Barsodi Brothers buffed. There is a typo, it's Fee 1. Evelt, but yeah, they are not now also spenders, but they are probably not good enough.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because what is
they're
it?
Just
7
provisions.
Yeah, like yeah, you can get them. I like also the lore like effect on them. So if one is in the graveyard, you get second stronger, but from the value that you can get from them, like it's cute to have more cards, to have a fee ability on them.
Yeah, for sure.
Like seven provision slot as well. Like they are competing with Gord, Saul's.
Yeah, 7 provisions are always hard to fit in. They're always in this awkward spot where like they're not mulligan targets, but they're not really super powerful goals that you want to have for round 3. So like 7 provision cards usually need to be quite a bit above the curve for you to play them.
So yeah, the Barsodi Brothers, nice to see them buffed, but it's like that's a buff that probably doesn't influence the meta. So Salamander Mage, the most important buff is Salamander Mage getting a mage category. People were uninstalling game because of that, like a mage not having. We had some cleric before that didn't have the cleric category, so it usually takes 6 to 12 months for projects to add the category, but yeah,
Yeah.
The only
Maybe-
buff it has as a mage, like we're probably getting mage expansion next, so maybe
Okay.
there is some card.
Yeah, right now it doesn't really do anything for
The
Syndicate, I
mage
think. So.
doesn't matter. Maybe there is like some neutral mage that profits from other mages. And yeah, Keeper of the Flame. Decrease this card tribute by 1 for every allied cleric.
I don't even know what this card does right now.
It buffs the adjacent units, I think, and if you pay tribute 4, it buffs every card on the row by 1. So now
Okay.
it's now you need clerics on the row, and then you get a discount of tribute ability. But yeah, it's still, I mean, it's 13 for 5. But it requires you to play weird cards like clerics, so it's a cute way to buff it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see some like cleric buffs in the future. At the moment, it feels like a build up for later improvement of the deck.
Yeah, right now I don't really see where you'd fit this. And Fire Sworn, is it strong enough? Probably not. Yet.
That's it for Syndicate. Definitely nerfed. We didn't get like a buff to other archetype, like direct archetype buff of something else. So we'll see how Line Pockets are adjusting, and maybe some alternative, like we've seen with Skellige in the past 3 months. People were playing one deck for the most part, and then the switch happened. I mean, before Iced introduction, with like Blaze of Glory Madoc deck appearing. But maybe there will be some alternative, because at the moment it was only Line Pocket Syndicate played. Nobody taking any chances.
No, I think people will try out some other stuff, but I have my doubts that other Syndicate decks will be really strong enough, since they weren't strong enough before and they didn't really get stronger.
So I guess we moved to the second like important change of Nilfgaard. So Nilfgaard and Masquerade Ball. Now scenario is only triggered by aristocrats played on your side of the board.
Yeah, that's a pretty big nerf. It basically means you have to play worse cards now to actually make Ball work. Because Roderick and Joachim were the best aristocrats, along with Usurper.
Yeah, those are like the trio. Like we've seen the Reed Raymer Simulate like 4 months ago. That only was relying on Coup and Double Spy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are like a few bronze cards that can trigger it that are fairly decent, but I mean, there are cards like Emir Vincent, Anna Henrietta, Fergus, right? You can still play aristocrats to trigger it, but overall the deck will be weaker if you play those cards.
Do you think we'll see Vincent reintroduced to the deck for the most part?
I don't know.
Is it too expensive at the moment, and you're better off just running bronze triggers as a replacement? Come on, Carders, I think Vincent might see like you also cannot one-shot things like Roderick into Joachim anymore, so
yep.
Vincent kinda connects if you miss your poison by opponent purifying. But yeah, it's
a bit of a meta-dependent card, right?
Yeah.
But in general, it's not that strong, I think. But yeah, maybe if you're still playing Ball, then you might run him, because you do need the aristocrat text. We'll see. I mean, I think there's also a chance that Nilfgaard will try and play without Ball.
Just put the good stuff in.
Yeah, maybe just like a full-on assimilate deck. right? Stuff like Porter, Ramon,
Yeah, that can come
Brasens, Vigo,
back.
and so on. Linus could maybe work.
So yeah, but yeah, the Masquerade Ball change is huge. I don't think it's that though, like the card by itself.
Yeah, I don't think it's completely
It,
dead.
it might
but-
like people were suggesting like making it cheaper by one, for example, but
yeah,
it's by no means that.
I think you can wait now to see if this card sees any play, and if nobody ends up playing this card, then maybe you can buff it eventually. But I think we've kind of seen enough of this card for the last year.
Like my standpoint with Harmony, with like Masquerade Ball, with Second Wind, they've been in a game for a large chunk of the time, like for a year and whatnot. So when they get nerfed, I'm not that sad. Like I love Gwent for like shifting meta as well.
Yeah.
So we've got a year and a half of Masquerade Ball, maybe enough. Maybe
yeah, exactly. Maybe it's
enough.
time to see something else, right?
Yeah, we've seen like great swords being played a lot, and then I like how they nerfed the great sword, or like changed great sword to something else, but something similar to what it was. So yeah,
I actually like the old great sword.
I mean, yeah,
but yeah,
they were nice and whatnot, but sometimes they jumped that provision curve and decided to play for like. Everyone has their favorite, so yeah, I understand that somebody will be sad that Harmony is like deleted or nerfed for a year now, or less than a year, but anyway. Same goes for Masquerade Ball, but yeah, it's still a card in Gwent.
Yeah, and I think you can still play it for sure if you want to.
So other than that, we got Tactical Decision, spawning more from that draws 3 cards and puts them back. Power changed to 7 from 6. The deck that used it initially was the Coldrim deck. But yeah, 6 to 7, I don't see the significant... They buffed soldiers a bit. And I think Morvan had a soldier tag. So maybe they are aiming at making the triple expansion, like Price of Power. One of them gonna be something like soldier heavy for Nilfgaard. Like we've seen other soldiers buffed, but yeah, I'm not sure about the leader ability though. Offering 3 cards.
Yeah, it's not super strong, but it is a Nilfgaard leader ability, and Nilfgaard leader abilities in general are fairly weak, so maybe.
Then
my 1 point is not irrelevant.
Yeah, I cannot see like if it's not powerful to begin with, just increasing the body strength. We've seen Dana being buffed, I think. Yeah, also didn't influence anything. So Lockdown gets an extra provision. I don't like that they start buffing Lockdown so fast after nerfing it.
I mean, it's really, really bad.
I mean, yeah, the ability is bad. And the replacement ability was bad before. Like I know a lot of people didn't like to play against Lockdown, so happy to see that gone. It just terrifies me that they start to look how do we buff it.
Yeah, but I think there's still quite a long way off. I think this could probably have like 20 provisions, and it wouldn't be great.
I mean, the fact that you can not click your line pockets last time, and that negates like Lockdown, ability to spawn operatives is kind of funny. So yeah, buff, but not important. So Imperial Formation now has 3 charges, buffed by 2, but also whenever you play a soldier, give it 1 armor for each adjacent soldier.
A tavern with the loot. You in?
Might be something to it.
I mean, Nilfgaard doesn't really have a direct way to get value from armor, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's just making your crossbowmen more likely to stick, and Impera, what's their brigade, so
it makes it harder to kill your stuff, yeah. I guess specifically against something like Skellige is definitely nice. Just how good this is will just depend on the deck you're playing against, right? Like if you're playing against a deck that relies on damage to kill things, like Skellige, for example, is pretty good. But you're playing against something like Nilfgaard that doesn't have any damage and just poisons your stuff, then it's quite useless. So.
I mean, armor has been and always will be kind of annoying to play, as you said, yeah, with the decks that go for damage, like Scoia'tael decks and Skellige decks. So, kind of might be a choice for the right meta. But yeah,
I mean, if you're playing a soldier deck, then this is probably the go-to leader now. Question is, are soldier decks going to be good enough? They don't really have that much support. I think they buffed some cards for them, so maybe people will try it.
I mean, from the soldiers, they did buff Rehef that repeats the deploys. Buffed that by 1 power and buffed Rimde by 1 provision. So Rimde is a 6 now. And like if you play reliable Artorius into the brigades, then in and playing Rimde, he's crazy 10 for 6. I don't know, like once again those cards are in that position of like 6, 7, 8 provisions that might be replaced with something in a way of polarization of the deck.
In theory, like slave infantry would be a good card to go with those, right?
Yeah.
It's just that there's not really any card that Nilfgaard can play that they can reliably trigger slave infantry on.
Yeah.
Like they would need some kind of card, like
I mean,
like 1 strength deploy card that has some sort of effect.
I can also see a next expansion bringing stuff like Armored Up, and what else do we have? Like Congregate, something soldier related as well. It seems to be an easiest way projects can go. Like make a special that swarms with 1 strength soldiers or something.
Yeah.
As Wilson points, Emir gets you once as well, so Emir now allows you to seize the 1 with spine, not randomly picking.
The thing is, if you're playing Emir, you probably want to play like the greedy 5p cards, right? Like the engine type stuff, and not stuff like slave infantry. That's more of a point slammy card. Like you want to play stuff like Thirsty Dame and like, what is it, Seditious Aristocrats and so on.
Seditious Aristocrat might be the way.
And Forces maybe, yeah.
But yeah, we talked with Dribblink yesterday, and you also were mentioning that it would be good if we can avoid the clock of the board by spies, like playing against spies. So yeah, Drift's point was, does Nilfgaard actually want to steal those 1-point tokens anyway? When you
yeah, sure, sometimes the clock is a win condition, I guess.
Yeah, I also think we need... Also, like, we got the location added to several cards. I think those cards might need an extra order after you exhaust the first one to actually destroy them, because board space.
Yeah, board space is kind of becoming more and more of an issue in the game as there are more cards added.
Getting buffed.
Yeah, there are more and more cards that like spawn multiple units, right? Or like artifacts that stay on the board. And then obviously you have the Nilfgaard problem that just takes away like 5 spaces or so from your board in a long round.
Yep. So other than that, so yeah, Emir now gives you an order so you can even ignore it and not cloak your side of the board. And yeah, the payoff of refreshment is devotion. Nilfgaard Devotion is kinda doable with Roderick being a decentish tutor. Besides, like, other cards being quite alright. You have
And Roderick is...
replacements for heat waves and toll punishes.
Roderick is an okay tutor, but the main reason you play him is because of the aristocrat tech and a synergy with Kolemoen.
I mean, yeah, he has multiple ways to get some positive effects on your deck. I wasn't naming Roderick like the tutor only card. Sure. So yeah, then we have Damien buff and Stefan Provision buff. So they decided to separate Elder Bears.
And the Damien buff is actually fairly big. And 6 strength is quite a lot harder to kill.
Yeah.
I could see some decks trying to fit him in.
He would have been the definite consideration if he was of noble birth and been an aristocrat.
Yeah, unfortunately not the case.
Yeah. And with Stefan, like he's now played with potentially played in Nova deck, but is it worth it? Probably not. I don't know. Like you cannot. What's the coup provision? Is it 10?
It's 9, so you can still.
Okay.
But I mean.
Okay.
But if you're playing Nova, you can't play Joachim, right?
Yeah.
So then what do you use the coup on?
Yeah. So there is no target, and your alternative is Cadaverine and Bribery.
Yeah. Those are not
Cadaverine didn't find its space after the change.
Yeah, I don't think Cadaverine is that good.
And Bribery is Bribery. Like, it didn't get nerfed. Like, projects definitely can take pride in that. People were like Reddit and Twitch chat were complaining about Bribery a lot when the Elder Bears Bribery deck was played. Then they just changed the non-bribery cards around it and card disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, it's also one reason why it's not so good anymore is because they're more, I guess, like archetypal decks right now that run a lot of goals that are just not good for Nilfgaard to get. Before, I think people were playing more goals that are like general usage. That you had like Radea meta, but everyone's running Radea, so you could bribery into Radea, and you were playing cards like Avalach and so on that you could just always play. But now you play bribery against something like Syndicate, and most of the cards that you can't even use.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this calls for a celebration. Stay the evening. We've several barrels of Kedwin's best.
Thanks for the sub reach. Hello. So yeah. To the Stefan is good on assimilate. You can get assimilate triggers from another coup. Yeah, the problem is like the second coup is doomed, so you're not getting a carryover. But sure, you can consider that. Like assimilate deck does play a lot of engines.
Yeah, I mean, I could see playing Damien and Skellige maybe in some kind of assimilate deck. Like without ball, I suppose, in that case, right? To make space for those cards.
Give something to try, like some alternative might be there, but yeah, I can see Masquerade Ball still staying. The good stuff without Masquerade is something people will hopefully work on.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily say like good stuff. Like I can see like really greedy Nilfgaard decks working, right? We play stuff like Damien Skellige, a bunch of assimilate cards. Joachim maybe still with coup. Like you have cards that play for a ton of points potentially. So
okay, so yeah,
it could work.
I don't really see Nilfgaard like falling completely from the meta. as some people are crying about on Reddit and yesterday on the cast. But we definitely see the expansion and what that does. Like, hopefully there is enough. Like, how are your impressions from the card release change that they are getting to? Like 4 cards per faction instead of a big content drop.
Yeah, I think in general I like it more if they release new content more in smaller doses but more often. The question is just if it's going to be enough that they do.
Like, yeah.
I think it could be, as long as they also like do a bunch of buffs, nerfs, and maybe some redesigns of old cards every month. But then also release new cards every 2 months. I think it could be fine. I think in general, I think it's better to keep the meta fresh if you release smaller patches every 2 months instead of like some really big patch every 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, we definitely seen like with the 6 months gaps between, like the month before the expansion hits, there is no reason to patch because like the expansion is close, and the first 2 months they are looking at it like we'll get the meta to settle first. So yeah, the big redesigns were happening like once per 6 months as well, maybe twice. But yeah, we've seen less rebalance patches, like influential rebalance patches recently. So yeah, I'm also fine. I'm a bit concerned, like we've seen Myth and Fault has been released with like those 12 leader cards, and yeah, if you miss on one faction introducing like the 4 cards that do not have any impact and you do not rebalance the fluff around them, and yeah, there will be a lot of people not happy because their faction is getting nothing.
Sure. I mean, that will happen though, right? Like, it's hard to always get it exactly right.
Yeah, true.
With the balance, but I mean, if they then buff the cards maybe in the next month, then I think it's okay, which is what they're doing now.
Yeah, it's just the problem with like rebalancing the next expansion. Then, like if you release this one kind of row, and then you start buffing around it, then you have another content drop coming in 2 months. So yeah, hopefully they'll find the right balance, but it might be of a bit of concern.
Yeah, but I think the approach in general isn't that bad, to just have more consistent updates. Like if you bring in new cards every 2 months and have like some balance patches every month, it would be quite good, I think. So let's see if they can actually keep it up, right?
Now we can move to monsters, I guess. With monsters we covered the Urn of Shadows. Now Deathlove getting a blood moon duration increased by 2 to 2 for each adjacent vampire. Is on paper kind of powerful, but I don't see that plus unseen power buff being enough for monsters. For the vampires, I mean, as an archetype to come back.
Yeah. My issue with monsters is that you have so many like potentially strong archetypes already with Araka's Queen and Kelly and the AQ. And
yeah,
so far the vampires weren't really up there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much this buff will have an influence on that deck. The deck did seem pretty weak to me when I played against it. I have never tried it myself, actually.
Yeah, like, people tried, including Unseen to Kelly. I've seen that. People try to play vampires. with and without Crimson Curse, Oriana, different builds, and nothing really stuck with the ladder. Veil being a bit of a problem as well. Like, say you get into the round when against Skellige and they have like a couple of units with Veil, you have no output for your leader.
Yeah, sure. There are a lot of situations where the extra duration doesn't actually matter because it's too slow or there's Veil anyways, right?
Yeah. Like they really made the vampires when they made them like buffed them a year ago, more than a year ago. They really succeeded with that, but yeah, to keep it fresh, it didn't really work out. So yeah, vampires kind of suffered since.
I mean, to me it seems like they need some more cards that actually give them points themselves instead of just trying to take away points from the opponent via bleeds, right?
Yeah.
So more cards like Oriana, for example, they're actual like point givers. Yeah. Like right now, the whole deck revolves around bleeding everything the opponent has and just trying to like keep their stats down. But they don't really have that many like points on their own side of the board.
Yeah. You also with Detlef and Unseen, it might be a bit challenging fit in something like Ozral package as well. They do eat some of the provisions. That's not cheap.
Yeah, I mean they're still good enough to be played, I think, but in that deck.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean just the changes on the power level of the card, so you're not getting a provision cheat anywhere. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe like the first Organic Blood Moon, Crimson Curse, got released. It felt like, yeah, it has a potential, but will people play it or not? And then the meta established, and yeah, AQ deck runs it quite nicely. Crimson Curse.
Yeah, I mean Crimson Curse is just, I mean, like, this card got buffed like 10 times, right?
Yeah.
But at this point,
it got there.
So much value.
It got there, yeah. And yeah, then we see that Archispore Flake was fighting for, did just assimilate the Foglet's ability.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, no tribes, no nothing, just a thinning. And yeah, the Foglet and the Ancient Foglet are now weather oriented, with Foglet being a Fox Spawn card on that wish. So we see the weather buff, or like not buff but introduction. So I wonder if it means Dagon immediately with the expansion or later.
Yeah, maybe. And this card on its own right now, the Foglet is potentially a 10 for 4, I guess, but
yeah,
realistically it's going to be hard to get that much value. You need to consume at least, and it's also slow. Your opponent needs to have enough points on the board, and it takes some time to get the value.
And yeah, and passing button exists as well, so you start to set it up, and then cannot profit unless there is a card that resolves all the weather effects somehow. Might be. And Ancient Foglet, like being a 6 provision card, is a bit too expensive, but yeah, the effect is nice. Boost self by total duration of row effects on opposite side. Whenever you apply a row effect, boost self by its duration, so...
Yeah, I don't think these cards are strong enough to really make a weather archetype worth it, but...
Yeah, maybe there are golds incoming. That's my hope.
I guess they're like a setup for like new cards potentially.
But yeah, Ancient Foglet, like at 5 provisions, I see it being quite powerful. At 6, yeah, you will once again get into that territory. Like we have Naglfar's crew, or whatever its name is, for 4 provisions, doing something similar, like broken from the weather, but yeah, The card was basically only picked from Oberon.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing this card, but I suppose, you know, if you really play a weather archetype at some point where you just constantly have weather on the opponent's side of the board, the card could play for something like 14 points, but
Yeah, there was also
in a
like
10 card round, but yeah, it's just
some discussion around like Madoc being good with that card, but yeah, if you're playing Foglet, you are meant to be playing weather, and when you are playing Madoc as well, like they just rewrite
Madoc
one
is-
another, so you cannot really get something going on opposite side of the board, like say.
it's also random with Madoc, right?
Yeah.
It's not really reliable.
So
And usually you don't trigger Madoc more than like 2 or 3 times in a round, so I don't really think this is... I mean, Madoc alone is definitely not enough with this card, and playing Madoc plus weather is probably not a good idea.
yeah. So probably some meme deck is coming, but yeah, I don't see Monster Weather being influential. And yeah, Eredin gets a power buff as well. I guess that's important. It also took almost a year for him to get to 6. It took several months for him to get his dominance working. Like in general, it was bugged for a long time, and now they buffing his power as well.
Yeah, I mean, Eredin is a fairly decent value card now, I think. It just doesn't really fit into the current monster decks. So it's more a card you would play in some kind of like just mid-range value type deck. Or a Frost deck, I suppose, but I don't think it's really a great Frost archetype. So,
Yeah. But yeah, maybe the golds are that good with the expansion that we'll see the whole picture later.
yeah.
I also am not the biggest fan of playing against weather, so I don't know. But hopefully there are cards like Ancient Foglets and like Foglets, so it's not just spam weather endlessly. Also requires you to do something, so hopefully it's a fun archetype. If they get it to the meta, nice. If not, oh well. So now moving on, there is Northern Realms. Now Pincer Maneuver gets 2 charges. So you draw another Realms card of your choice, shuffle something from your hand, and spawn a Volunteer. The problem is it lost its hand buff.
Yeah,
doing so.
No. It would be better, I think, if it got like boost the card in your hand by 3 each time or so, right?
Yeah.
The Volunteers.
I was pretty high, like not hyped that it's gonna be the deck, but I was hopeful for it. And today, reading it, I noticed that it doesn't buff anymore.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise it would be crazy if it buffed by 5 with 2
Oh no,
charges, right?
I didn't mean it with like by 5. I just yeah, assumed that it spawns, so some of the buff is going into that Volunteer. Somebody joked in Tailbot's chat yesterday, like you can make a crew pocket immediately.
Yeah,
But yeah,
sure.
sure. Yeah,
But
I don't know.
I don't think this is good enough. I mean, it gives you a lot of consistency for sure. But 6 points, I have my doubt.
The Volunteer is 2 strength, so 4 points. Unless I miss.
There are only 2 strength? I thought there were 3.
I think Volunteers from the ship are coming at 2 strength, yeah. So it's 4 points, not even 6. So
I had 3 when you play them or smoke them out.
yeah, the smoke them out.
Yeah, that seems really weak.
Yeah, that's why I was hoping for like the hand buff remaining. Yeah, okay, so the next leader is the Inspired Zeal with boost by 2. So are we moving back to lined pockets and inspired zeal meta?
Maybe. I mean, this is a really big buff, right? It's like just 3 points straight up to the deck, but potentially even more than that if you use it on cards like Selkirk.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
Selkirk profits from it a lot.
I'm not sure it's strong enough to make Foltest meta again, because Foltest was not being played at all in a long time now, but it's a pretty big buff, so I'm sure people will try it.
I mean, yeah, the Foltest card also got a buff. Oh, like, yeah, went to 11 provisions, got power nerfed by 1, but it also acts as a Temerian drummer now. So
Yeah, that card is a lot stronger now.
its
And
effect
now you actually maybe play it in
stripes
the
commanders.
commander deck.
Yeah, like I can see that being done. So yeah, people are definitely gonna experiment with those. Not with triple stripes commanders, but there is Droke.
Yeah, I think Draug is usually the best version for that deck.
Yeah.
I just wonder if you can like include King Foltest the card somehow in there, but I'm not sure if you can. It's hard to play this deck as devotion.
Yeah, the provision is like, yeah, also 11. So sure, you could have found something to replace at like 7, 8. From like, if we are talking old Droke, but nowadays you still want your assaults and Drogues and all that. So
yeah, Foltest is very tight on provisions. You have a lot of cards like that you kind of have to play, like Assault and Aeromancy, Merciless, and Selkirk probably, and Draug.
So yeah, feeding that might be a problem, and like letting go of Selkirk to feed Foltest. First of all, it's not even a fair provision change, so yeah, you cannot just straight swap them. We'll see. I kinda don't mind that being a deck on the ladder though. We've seen enough of Witchers.
Foltest is quite an interesting deck, I think, to play as and to play against. It's a pretty unique game plan, so I wouldn't mind seeing it.
Moving on, Queen Meath now resets the counter after she gets off. So yeah, cards seen 0 play.
Yeah, I mean, it is stronger now. I mean, the reason the card didn't really play was always that it was hard to really find a good home for it, right? Because in a swarm deck, the whole point is usually that you're not giving your opponent value for cards like Tall Punishers, for cards like Locks and so on. So like this card doesn't really fit into like a pure swarm deck. So you want to play it in a deck that runs other engine cards, but then you probably don't get that much value from this ability.
Yeah, so you need to swarm and you need to keep her alive and working, yeah. And yeah, if you're gonna just buff her and rebuff her after Skellige damages her, you do not get to buff anything on the board. Because
I mean, with the counter reset, it's actually though a good amount stronger now, I think, in engine decks. Like now you can just play this card maybe as your first play and
hope it sticks, and yeah, if it goes off. I mean, if you manage to buff or swarm the board and it goes off once, it's already like a decent play. If you manage, of course, to swarm heavily by the end of the round.
Yeah, exactly. But like before, you had to play it like relatively late into the round.
and still have all the cards that re-enable her or like leader ability intact.
Yeah, and now it's like your opponent also could just if you played it early, your opponent could just kind of ignore it, right? Because it wouldn't do much. But now, if your opponent ignores the card, it actually goes off multiple times potentially, so it's more threatening.
Yeah, we also got the next card, like poor fucking infantry with spawn in left flank infantry and right flank infantry, so they are getting extra cards for swarming. So yeah, you will be able to create bodies on the board for Queen Meave, and yeah, as you mentioned, drop her early and then just start working on it.
How much strength are these?
Left and right, I don't think they showed on stream, so expectation is probably 1. But you never know. I have Gwent closed at the moment.
That would be pretty weak, right? If it's 1, that would be like a 3-point card baseline.
So poor fucking infantry is 1 and 4 strength at the moment. If it boosts, boosts cell by 3 only on bonded. Yeah, I missed that part. Maybe then it's not 1 strength. Yeah,
probably 2 strength. Yeah, I would think so. It's baseline of 5 for 4, and then if you have bonded, it's like 8 for 4 probably.
Yeah.
It's not a great value on its own, but it does potentially enable swarm archetype, right?
I mean, you get your 3 bodies onto the board, you get boosted units onto the board, but only when bonded hits. Yeah, I missed the bonded part, so it's not that big of a hype. But yeah, getting the PFI to see some play potentially is nice. But yeah, they kinda forgot to show the tokens for those.
Yeah, I would say they're most likely going to be 2 strengths, kind of the only number that would make sense to me.
It's the main one is 1 strength. Tokens, yes, would be 2. Could have been, yeah, just spawned whatever the name is, a volunteer. Do not create, but they have the arts for them, so I was just thinking maybe you swarm with volunteers in the end. For Voimirs, and yeah, the card is Voimir, right? The one that buffs all the copies. So getting like another type of unit onto the board. We'll see. It's cute. 3 bodies from 1 card.
I think this used to be how the card worked, like back in beta as well.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, yeah, they have the art ready, and adding it is always nice. And yeah, Jason was talking about something like making more changes to NR later. And yeah, the charges are not, Stockpile was not influenced by this. So Stockpile definitely lost a war to Invigorate. Because Invigorate, we are moving to Scoia. Invigorate got double charge now, and you get to choose what you're buffing in your hand. So
yeah, that's a lot better now.
Yeah, if you are comparing just click leader once and buff whatever units you manage to find in your hand, to buff your like target engines by 2, and ignore like non-unit tutors you have. Yeah, it's definitely much stronger. Is it strong enough? I have my doubts.
It's hard to say. I mean, like, what are the cards that really synergize well with this? Like, you could just play it with engines.
Yeah, that's exactly like just buffing your engines. Features at 6 are definitely harder.
Movement engines and so on, right?
Yeah. Other than that, we have those dwarves that go off if they are boosted, but yeah,
Sure.
They are quite outdated, so.
Yeah.
And then what I assume there is still, like, what's the name? It's not, or was it Word Answer? The damages by 3 boosted.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
one of the elves.
but
Yeah,
sure.
the card is bad, but it synergizes with being buffed. Other than that, yeah, you're just saving your engines, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like right now, it doesn't seem like there's a super strong archetype for this, but maybe it was just engines. I could see it. It's like the ability is pretty strong now, I think.
Yeah, it's 10 points, and definitely one of your 5 engines that you might have drawn is sticking.
Yeah, the issue, of course, is you might have to commit one of those charges in round 1 to actually win round 1. Then maybe you won't have enough left for later. Because like if you don't commit this charge round 1, then your opponent can just like win round 1 and bleed you.
Yeah, and then you're basically playing something similar to Alt Invigorate. But yeah, happy to see that they tried to change it to something more useful than it was in the past 2 years.
Yeah,
it's seen some play at the beginning of Homecoming.
Yeah, I mean, people would definitely try this out now. At the very beginning of Homecoming, I think I also saw play with engines then. I think actually Legion brought it to like open number 8 with an engine deck. But yeah.
So we covered the Neophyte already for the most part. Like might see play, definitely buff Saber as well. Greythawk and Catwitcher, yeah, they mentioned that they might get. I'm kind of surprised that Catwitcher might get a buff once again. It was nerfed.
Oh no, wait, the nerfed. I always get confused. All these Witchers.
I think Catwitcher got nerfed by Adrenaline, so he gets off on Adrenaline 3. Before,
okay, that one, yeah.
Before it was 4. And Greythawk, I don't know, what are they doing? Just changing provisions and strength once again, potentially. Other than that, you probably don't want to change the card because the ability is kind of.
I think the card design was is fine, right? It's just a bit power crept at this point. So yeah, maybe they just reverse the nerf and put it back to 8 strength.
And then there is a Munro Bruce that gets a charges and order now. So you can play the Munro and then play your Zoltan's Company or whatever, Zoltan himself with the tokens. Cute buff to Dwarves deck, like it didn't feel.
Yeah, it makes the card better. You now have a choice of like if you think your opponent can deal with the small tokens but can't deal with the Munro, you can play the Munro first and then play the tokens afterwards. Sometimes maybe just one token survives, you play him, transform it, and then you play another token, right?
Yeah, I mean,
so
the Dwarves are still playing Defender for the most part, the decks I've seen, so you can also protect it besides the fact that he requires like 6 E6 and 2 armor, if I recall correctly. So not that easily removable. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, and I don't think Dwarves will be that strong anyways, but it is a buff to the deck.
Yeah, and that leaves Skellige that we did talk about the mask, but yeah, that leaves Skellige and neutral cards.
Yeah.
So Skellige mask is spawning 2 crows now. Reckless Flurry gets a change. Now you can control stuff better as you have 3 charges of split 3 damage and go through armor as well.
Yeah, that's actually pretty big buff, right? Like it's just 1 point more than it used to be, but you also have an easier time splitting it up.
I mean, it was kind of nice to play, say, Danka and buff her up. And yeah, Skellige never kills it in one go. Like, not never, but round 1 they specifically struggled against that. Now you have like charges potentially sniping. Or not even sniping. You can find the implications for that, because you didn't have like 1-2 more damage to kill something that got buffed or
but it does definitely make this ability also like less vulnerable to being bled.
Yeah, that's also.
It's like easier for you to like make up small amounts of points now. If you just need like a few extra points to get ahead, you don't have to commit your entire leader, but you can just commit 1 charge or 2 charges.
They could have implemented it like with a cooldown. Maybe we'll see that if their ability is too strong. I don't feel like it. It's fine by what the change they made. It might see more play, but it would have been it wouldn't surprise me if it's seen the cooldown as well, so that you cannot just click it. But yeah, I don't see a real problem with it being the way they made it now. So,
I would not be shocked if this would be like the go-to Skellige leader now, to be honest. Like maybe I mean obviously Ice you will still play in a Blaze of Glory, but for non-Ice decks, I think this might be the strongest Skellige leader now.
I mean, it's definitely not a bad change to see, and yeah, competing with others. That extra point they gain, and yeah, as you mentioned, that you cannot just bleed it out since you are just using charges. Yeah, true. Might be choice besides the ice deck. So next, Krachenkreid also gets an order damage unit by 1 cooldown too. So we have leaders, we have abilities, we have cards. Now we have leader abilities as cards as well. Partially. So the Krach felt like it never survived when I tried him. In like semi-pirate deck and full pirate deck. It didn't feel amazingly great. Now you get a cooldown to like... Honestly, it was always heat-waved. Let's begin with that. Heat-waved or locked. And now it's even more of a threat like on the board. So people gonna target him.
Yeah, and it's not a bad card for that deck. The problem is here is just that the pirate deck as a whole is probably not good enough.
It got better, but it didn't.
You probably need more cards like this, so like you don't mind it getting heat waved as much if you just have more threats, right?
Yeah. Well, for the full pirate deck, that was the problem. Like, oh, I see Krach. I probably will just remove him, and then the carryover that he gives you is not enough with the armor that often.
Yeah. The armor.
It's kind of fun to see the leader ability being transferred to the leader card. Damage 1, cooldown 2. So yeah, next Ice is getting a Bloodthirst 3 condition. So it's harder and harder to get the 2 discards out of it.
It's a fairly big nerf to it. Like there are quite a lot of situations I think where you were able to get Bloodthirst 2 but not Bloodthirst 3. So and maybe people will start going away from Ice and trying some other Skellige decks now. Maybe with Reckless Fury. But Like the issue is ice is still really good even if you don't get the Bloodthirst off, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, people were still playing him while not reaching the Bloodthirst 2 fairly often, I'd say. Like, yeah, there are matchups when this is not an issue, getting Bloodthirst 2. But now with 3, still a nice card to have in your deck. Don't get the full effect of it, still might be nice. So
yeah, I mean it's still good. But
you still play him in the same deck because nothing else got nerfed in that.
Yeah, I mean sure if you're playing Blaze of Glory,
Yeah,
you're still playing ice. Question, I mean there is a certain cost still though to playing this, right? Like other Skellige leader abilities are generally worth more. You know, you have to also commit provisions to playing cards like Jutta.
So
play a bit in the punch that you otherwise wouldn't play into, so it's not like completely free.
Yeah, we'll see if people shift from the Blaze.
And it's weak to bleeds as well. So like if you really like if it's like really hard to get the Bloodthirst off, then yeah, maybe it's not worth it anymore.
Can Kolemoen make a prediction of what will be the strongest faction day 1 so we can all know what to play? Andy is curious.
I can tell you that I'm going to play Foltest on day 1, but
there you go, Andy. You know what to play and what to take against. Moving on, so Swollblood Totem is now allocation, has resilience. It's... Of course you want to click it with the fanatics that you have immediately.
Yeah, for the current Skellige deck, this is kind of completely irrelevant, right? Like you don't have any way to get value out of this ability outside of the fanatics. But yeah, I suppose in some kind of self-damage archetype, in theory.
Yeah, I had a co-op with the Lucha. We were playing like Olaf, Heim, and Wild Karl. So maybe we are going back when you could sometimes play Wild Karl in like a deck. You play that next to the totem and click it and self-damage it somehow. But yeah, it's definitely not applicable with the current decks. It's also annoying for Lippy, honestly. if you're playing Lippy with Swollblood Totem, that totem sticking to the board.
And the other thing is you usually want to use the leader, like the ability of the totem. You don't want to like, because if you don't use it, then you don't activate the fanatics.
Why you play? Yeah, that's exactly that. Like, why you're playing it? Like,
yeah, in theory, sometimes you don't use it maybe because Nilfgaard plays their spies in between or something like that.
But then, yeah, you probably don't have, like, in the current decks, you're definitely not having a lot to do with the click next round. In the self-damage, at the moment, we ran this Swollblood Earth and Ritual for the pings, but like, you don't want to play too many self-damage cards anyway. How many of them are that great? So
I guess there's stuff like Blue Boy if you're playing Earth Sign.
You're basically just getting extra damage if you need to kill an 8.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah. But the Coral getting to 6, harder to remove. And now triggers of any discarded card, not only special, so people definitely gotta play that day 1 to try it out.
Unfortunately, Bran is not a leader anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, you have your discard package, you have your stratagem. Other than that, it still requires you to discard and there is no Bran to support. So
I guess the card is like baseline 8/8 now, right?
Yeah, she has Zeal and she discards, so sure. Then you profit by... First of all, you need to find your Birna and whatnot to get the value.
Sure.
And then the opponent need to have targets already developed, otherwise the card will just potentially die in 2 turns. You get your 8.
It's not that easy to kill. I mean, this is actually like a fairly decent buff to like the discard package as a whole, right?
Yeah.
You have 1 more card now that you can play.
What's
as a
Coral
discard.
Provision? 8. Yeah. I was just rechecking through. 8 for 8 and payoff for whatever you're playing as discard. It's still a discard, I think. Stuff like what's his name? The Darren. Darren just moves to the graveyard, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Darren doesn't count.
So you cannot go more all in on that.
Yeah, and right. I mean, the issue right now, I guess, you don't have that many like premium discard targets, right? It's just skirmishers basically, and Mockback is an okay target.
Sure.
So
one of the Coral iterations, I guess, was to just play Shupradeya and fill the deck with trash to discard. But yeah, doesn't sound too impressive at the moment. And Direbear, Berserk 7, ability only affects the opposite row. So yeah, that card, some people were scared of it when it got revealed. Like shutting down stuff that buffs on 1 row, but yeah, Direbear didn't see any play. And I don't think it didn't see the play because the ability was also affecting your own row. Of course, it sometimes might have had some implications if, say, your Soulblood Priest got moved to the same row as Direbear, but yeah, I don't really see how this Berserk helps it.
Yeah, most Skellige decks don't even play boosts in the first part, so the issue is that Direbear just is most of the time an 8 for 9, and it also kind of plays into tall punishes that SK in general doesn't really, and blocks and such, right? Like Skellige decks usually are not really weak to cards like Heatwave and whatnot, and this just provides a target that.
Yeah. Also, like this Berserk 7, if you're running the leader, the Battle Trance, you're gonna be healing that. So
yeah, true.
And then the Armor Up goes to 4 provision. So yeah, another card that promotes Swarm, getting cheaper. I mean, it's what Armor Up is 2 damage, right?
I don't even know what it does.
It spawns 3 students, damages them by 1 and gives them 1 armor, but it also is a damage 2. So now it's 5 for 4. And you get 3 bodies and
with another damage. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a buff to the like Self-Wound archetype, right?
The Mentors, the Bear Witcher Mentors as well.
Exactly, those cards.
They profit from that.
Yeah, I mean, the Bear Witcher Mentors are definitely quite strong cards.
And they got stronger, like with this Armor Up, the deck that was playing them was usually running it. But
exactly, yeah.
They once again, that's like different Skellige from what we've seen lately. Not going tall.
Yeah, this is a Skellige that does grow tall, right? I'm not sure if it's good enough because it just does feel like the deck maybe still doesn't really have quite enough support. But I mean, it's gonna be a bit better now.
But yeah, overall, Skellige might get a little change. Iced is nerfed. And Coral is potentially seeing more play, as it sees no play at all.
You could even consider throwing Coral just into like any normal deck as... Yeah, I don't know, he's probably not quite strong enough to play her without any discard support as an 8 for 8.
I don't think you can really allow yourself to throw that for 8 provisions.
Yeah, probably not. But in the discard package, you definitely play her now.
Sure.
And it makes that
It's
package.
not, it's not that easy to remove, and you just drop her and try to profit immediately. Sure. Okay, and that leaves, I think, only neutrals locations. So the added armory now is not a special, but a location. 6 provisions artifact with resilience that boosts allied unit by 6 and then give 3 armor to an allied unit.
And maybe in something like Scoia'tael you could play it.
Yeah, play boost on deploy is kinda nice for 6 provisions. Yeah.
It's basically a pact for 6 provisions, but you do get this 3 armor as well. I don't know how useful it is, but
yeah, Kelly might protect something like the Scoia'tael herself or something, but duels, I guess as well, like NR might find something.
Yeah, true. With dual cards, it's not bad. Yeah.
So maybe NR can find some implementation. I don't think you really. Yeah. It's basically something with order that is 5 strength. You might give it a better chance of surviving. So yeah, I don't really see the card being everywhere. And then we got the Land of Thousand Fables as well. The special tutor. And it has this curious ability of like, on deploy you just play a special from deck and then you transform a special in your hand to a random unit with the same provision cost. So that definitely...
I mean, usually random cards are not very good. But I guess it gives you like a Hail Mary option if you feel like you're behind or you have a break in your head or something like that.
I mean, it does transform into a random unit. What's the... Kelly...
Oh yeah, can you guarantee get Kelly from this?
So Scoia'tael is 13. Nero is 13. Is there any monster card that...
Okay.
Monsters... is there a 13? Yeah, there is nothing. So you can guarantee the Scoia'tael from it, I guess. Because it's... oh wait, no, sorry. I forgot. Random from the same faction. Yeah, not from your faction, but from the same faction that the card is.
Play the monster.
So yeah.
I mean, you do run on Neuromancy and Kelly, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't work like that. I guess it transforms to a 13 provision monster card. 13 provision neutral card.
Well, so it's gonna transform, but then into Regis, I guess.
Yeah. So if you want a Regis in your Kelly deck, you can play it, but you probably... I have...
And there are no 13 provision specials in monster, I think, right?
And the chat mentions that Droke is 13 provisions.
Are so
but it's once again, the same problem. Like if the phrasing is correct, then it guarantees you a Regis. As for the faction specific, you can transform your amphibious assault into a Droke. Yeah, that's not something that will work out every time.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be.
Is good of a card.
I don't think it's gonna be worth it to include those cards. This card for that in your deck.
Yeah, I wonder if there is like, what is the special, expensive specials? Yeah, you probably are not transforming echo cards. And like running something like Vigos Muscle to get an Erland is also not ideal. So you basically should aim at cheaper ones, but the problem with cheaper ones is that you are not getting a guarantee of transformation, and just rolling randomly is suboptimal. Yeah, that's the changes. Hi to me. And yeah, they also promised like that there are more changes that are not listed, so that's a big
around
patch. That's a big patch.
Yeah. It's gonna shape up the meta quite a lot.
Yeah.
Will be interesting to see. Are they also releasing the new cards next month, or is it?
No, the next expansion is June something. Slama promised that it's not June 1st, but other than that, he didn't specify. But yeah,
Well,
the next patch is just those changes and more changes to come. And in 2 months or like month and a half, we'll have an expansion. So
yeah.
I guess Andy also asked for like the summary, so I think we covered the summary of the patch notes as well, with you being a draw player, that's your choice.
Yeah, I mean, full Strug, I hope it's gonna be good. I like the deck. And
it's
other than that,
you haven't really played it in a while, I guess.
yeah, I played it at World Masters.
Yeah, so after that, what's your current approach to Gwent? Are you just trying for 64 or?
Yeah, I mean, I think this season I'll probably go for top 16 because I'm already fairly high up right now.
Okay, you climb. I mean, the 5-week season, yeah, helps with that.
Yeah, like the first 2 seasons were like 3 weeks or something.
Yeah.
It was pretty rough.
Top 16 this. How are your crown points doing?
I don't have that many right now, I think.
So the plan is, if you are aiming, if you get a chance to go to qualify to the Open, then to the Masters, not grind in the
yeah, that would be nice.
How did you like the Open in general? Have you been watching?
Parts of it. I mean, I watched like Shaggy's and Red Rain's games. That's a bit unfortunate there. Like, you know, both of them had like solid leads, and then I got a bit unlucky in the last games.
It happens.
And yeah, I haven't really. I didn't see the finals. I saw the semi-final games, like most of it. Well, yeah, I mean, overall, pretty good games, I think. YOLO was a jam, so.
Yeah, YOLO got his jam into the Twitch lore now. It's already, I checked, it was activated on like 20 channels plus. Yeah, I need to add it to me as well. True. Yeah, it's not activated. Stop spamming YOLO jam. I need to kick something first. But yeah, thanks Kolemoen for coming, like on a short notice as well as like the fact that I didn't have you on before, so we didn't interact that much. So yeah, thanks for coming, and yeah, hope chat you enjoyed. Do you have anything to promo? The social media, the websites, anything?
Not really, no.
Not really, yeah.
Not really using it that much.
So,
I have a Twitter account, but I'm not really using it. So.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just cheer for Kore in the ladder. And yeah, chat. Hope you enjoyed. So yeah, thanks. And I guess I'm gonna continue with some games on the stream. I'll let you go now.
Yeah. Thanks. All right then.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Bye.
Yeah, that's the art that they revealed. I don't think it was even open number 4. I think it was like the second open. I might be mistaken though. Second or third. So we got those three. We know that Treants exists. We know that that construct is probably getting released, and yeah, at least yeah, it exists. And then we got those three card arts. This beauty. Anyone with details about the card, who that potentially might be? Is it a neutral or Nilfgaardian? Like, he doesn't look completely Nilfgaardian to me. He has the blue color, so maybe an NR battle mage. But yeah, I'd vote for neutral first, NR sec. Ah, wait, we have shields as well. Do those look like NR shields? And aren't mages not after Radoid? Yeah, you don't know the time, and the kingdom as well. And the leak number 3 is this cool art. I wonder if it's a special or it's like a fortune teller, but some other kind of mage. That's gonna be a bronze one. My prediction, I don't think it's coming to fruition, but I think it might be just transfer a status. Could be soulmancy. Necromancy on a dude. Nah, I don't think that's gonna be an effect.